This is a very important transit for next 38 days. This will be a time of huge transformation at geopolitical level. You know, things will completely change and become more serious and more intense. But at the same time, it will also be a huge amount of push and pull, as well as passion, bouncing back abilities, and hard work. All these three things are going to get together. Saturn Mangal is known as Yam Yoga. And the biggest quality of Yam Yoga is that wherever you have Yam Yoga, you are 24 by 7 busy in that particular house. That means your workload is going to increase. Whatever house you have Saturn and Mars, you will see that 24 by 7 for next 38 days you are going to be thinking about it, working about it. Even if you don't want to work, you'll be pushed towards working on that particular area. Specifically, if I give you a small example, if you have Aries ascendant, right, you have this combination happening in your 12th house, you will be thinking about investments or the money going out, from your pocket, from your saving account, and getting invested somewhere. You will be thinking of it, and with thought process, with 24 by 7 something going out, right, you will also be very much passionate about it, right? Maybe you are renovating your home, renovating your office, or buying certain things, right, for which you're thinking all the time. But Mars is going to bring tons of passion and desire to make things better in life. But on the same time, Saturn is going to make you really work hard for it. So there are some great positives about Saturn and Mars, but also it is said in the history that whenever Saturn and Mars are together, the geopolitical order changes. On the same time, it can also give birth to certain viruses, certain viral health issues that you've never ever heard before. And also, this is a time when there will be, global crisis on oil, right? And, the things that we use every day. On the same time, this particular conjunction is also going to give you, a new hope, because whenever you have Yam Yoga, it is end of something and beginning of something, and in between there is also lot of introspection. This is what Yam Yoga is all about. Let me share my screen and take you towards each sign, each lagna, each moon sign, to tell you where you are going to feel working 24 by 7, and where are you going to see the major transformation of your life. You see, for Aries, ascendant, or if you have Aries moon sign, you are already in Shani's Sadasati. You're going through the first daya of Sadasati, and Saturn in your 12th house is not considered good. I'll be very honest with you. This is where, it is slowing down things when it comes to, you know, investing, when it comes to, diseases, health issues. I am sure that people who have Aries Lagna or Aries moon sign, they are struggling in terms of health, and they might have to visit hospitals. There is some sort of mental isolation that you're feeling. The good thing is that you have your Mangal here now. So definitely it is going to increase your passion. Mangal is also your Lagna Lord, but on the same time, the drishti of this Mars is going to be on your third house. Then you have the drishti on the sixth house, and then You also have your drishti on the seventh house. These are the aspects of Mars. Now, you see, whenever you have Saturn Mangal, Saturn Mars combination in the 12th house, right, you have to be very careful in terms of investments. Do not take any panic decisions. Do not go beyond your capacity. I mean, Mars is going to definitely give you passion here. But on the same time, whenever you have Saturn Mangal Yoga, there's a lot of waste of existing resources that happens. If you have gold, silver, do not do any panic selling or panic buying. Hold it. Keep it with you. Nothing is going to be, problematic if you stay calm and composed. On the same time, you need to watch your communication. You can become very, very aggressive. Also, do not be very, very proactive in taking loans and debts. You see, whenever Saturn Mars is together, the bank will ask you about a lot of technicalities, and your case could be stuck because of one or two technicalities which are not okay. But on the same time, you can also get motivated to take unnecessarily loans and money from the market so that you can just feel the ease. That's not a good idea. You need to stop yourself here, restrict yourself here, right? On the same time, Saturn Mars is a combination of sexual relationships here, and probably you have to be more organized here. And you have to, if you can celebrate celibacy, in this particular time, it is going to give you a lot of physical strength. On the same time, this, combination is also having an aspect on your seventh house of partnerships. You can get some weird opportunities of partnerships. Like, suppose if you got money, you've got resources, and someone comes up say that I have knowledge, I have, I can make your company, a very successful company. Why don't you put me as a partner? Don't do that, right? Don't do that. Partnership is always when someone invests his knowledge, talent, and money. So wherever you have these partnerships where, it is one person having the money, the other person is having, that knowledge, and then they partner, eventually they broke. That's what my experience is all about. Even if you have, talent or something, your partnership should be equal to the amount of money, that you put in a particular business. So this is where you have to be very, very conscious, right? On the same time, Mars is your, lagna and the eighth lord, making a vipreet raj yoga. So if you were looking for any foreign associations, permanent residency, anything that you were looking at, it's a good time. Next 38 days are going to be good. You see, whenever Saturn Mars looks at the sixth house, there is also always a possibility of conflict, and that conflict getting into a war. You see, Pakistan also has Aries rising, and there are chances that the conflict between India and Pakistan, can come up in next 38 days, and it will be severe. On the same time, I must tell you that there can be a huge transformation in your mindset. Your energy will definitely boost here. But if you get into unwanted and non-practical conflicts, the conflicts that you cannot handle, you will be in real, real trouble here. There are possibilities of losing things, from your life. So be very, very careful with this particular conjunction happening in your transit. Now we can talk about the Taurus in the end of this video, right? I will be also, giving you a lot of remedies, those powerful remedies that are very, very important for the Yam Yoga. For Taurus rising, this is happening in the 11th house. Mars is your 7th and 12th lord, going into your 11th house, conjunct with your ninth and 10th lord Saturn. You see here again, technically Mars and Saturn individually do very well in the 11th house, but when they come together, definitely it is going to be some problematic situation in terms of accumulating wealth. You see, one, uh, you can get over passionate and over technical about your earnings and, you know, gaining of money and resources. But on the same time, you will also see that there is some sort of conflict which is coming in the 11th house. Maybe one conflicted decision can ruin your reputation in the society. Also, there are chances that you may invest something, invest in something which is not right. There could be a possibility of wrong investments coming in your life. There could be conflict between the family because this particular Mars is going to aspect the second house. You got to be careful with your food intake, right? And on the same time, be very careful with any conflicts with your elder brother, children, and do not get into any unnecessarily conflicts, with your enemies. You see, this is where Mars is aspecting the second house, then there's the fifth house aspect, and then there is a sixth house aspect, of Mars. Now, you see, this is where you will find that suddenly there was a gain, but you also lost some money for unnecessary reasons. This 11th house is also sixth from the sixth, where you can feel certain problems in your legs, thighs, and hamstrings, and even heart area, right? You got to be careful. Uh, Also, whenever Saturn Mars is in the 11th house, you become very, very technical about, your society, samaj. You also get very, very technical about your gains in life. Sometimes when you use over, you know technical things or the technology or AI, it gets in your head, it's a problem. Sometimes you have to believe in your instinct as well to do certain things. So next 38 days are to believe in your instinct rather than getting overly technical. Now we can get on to the third, lagna or the moon sign, which is Gemini. So for Gemini moon sign or Gemini ascendant, this is happening in the 10th house. And technically, it is going to overload you with the work, right? Saturn was already giving you a lot of work. This Saturn Mars combination is in the 10th house, looking at the fourth house as well, which can ruin the health of your parents, both mother and father. Their health can become a challenge. You can also feel exhausted. I mean, you'll have to deal with more than one things at a time, and this is going to be frustrating. Although individually Saturn and Mars does very well in the 10th house, and they have powers to give you great results, but whenever the 11th and the 6th lord Mars comes to the 10th house, there can be conflicts at your workplace. You can do certain overcommitments in your life which will not be a good idea and which you will not be able to handle. So remain low profile. Do not take unnecessarily initiatives at your workplace so that you can build your reputation. In fact, if you try to take such initiatives, you are going to lose your reputation. That's where the major problem will come in life. Although we have Jupiter in the Lagna, which is making you intelligent and spiritual, giving you various trips at various spiritual places, but on the same time, at your workplace, responsibility for your mother and father, right? Responsibility on your children, specifically if you are having teenage children or we have minors with you, definitely it's going to increase your responsibility. You'll be more indulged in them and you'll feel exhausted. At workplace also, you are going to try more AI and technical things, and then just get carried away. That's not something that you should do, right? Just be, wherever you are, do not make any bigger changes or major changes at your workplace for next 38 days. Very, very important for you, right? For Cancer, ninth house, Mangal is a Yoga Karaka Graha, Lord of Kendra and Trikona. Fifth house, 10th house goes to the ninth house is good, right? But you already have Saturn there. Now, for Cancer Lagna and Cancer Moon sign, there will be spiritual trips. I can see that you can go to spiritual places, long distance travel will be triggered, but on the same time, there can be certain conflicts in your investments, right? So be very careful when you are flushing out the money. It may go wrong. On the same time, you have to be very careful in your communication as well. You see, Saturn and Mars combination technically is going to influence your 12th house of investments, then the third house of your communication, and the fourth house. So there is a chance that you will get some property under your name, right? But on the same time, be very careful while making the payment. There can be a conflict while making the payment, and maybe someone who had committed something else on the 11th hour, he changes and says something else. So this is what happens when Mars and Saturn yuti makes relationship with the fourth house and the 12th house simultaneously. This is where the conflict arises. So very careful property dealings, very careful uh, dealings at home, and you got to be patient in your communication with everyone. Definitely with your younger siblings, you have to be careful. If you are trying to do any startup, I want you to hold that for the next 38 days. You can do more research and development than just going off and starting. Anyways, Cancer people always have problem with communication, in terms of they saying something else and the people assuming something else. That's their life problem, right? They are saying right things, but people take them wrong. So that is where this period of 38 days is going to amplify that. So remain quiet, listen more, speak less, and be very careful, and very, very composed state. Do meditation as much you can, so that your mind and your brain just relaxes. Otherwise this is going to be a troublesome time for communication, and dealing with your neighbors, dealing with your siblings, dealing within home. It's going to be a difficult situation. For Leo rising people, this happens in the eighth house. Saturn was already troubling you in the eighth house. Now you have your Yoga Karaka Graha Mangal, Lord of the fourth and the ninth, going into the eighth house. It is better than at least when Mars was in your seventh house making an Angarak Yoga. It is better, but it's not the good, right? So here again, you got to be very careful with your hopes, wishes, and desires, right? Don't have hopes with the people who technically have ditched you before, right? Also, 11th house is the house of gains. Definitely, the gains will be little better than the previous month, but then again, you have to be very careful here. Also, second house is going to take a hit here, where you got to be careful with your taste and what you're eating, and how you're behaving with the family. You see, there are chances where you can be hospitalized. You have to drive slow. This is a yoga of an accident, and this is a yoga where you have to stop yourself from doing any adventurous activities. Also, if you are an astrology enthusiast, it's a good time, because this is where you're going to become extremely technical, and you're going to learn certain yogas and certain sutras in your life, which are going to remain long, long with you, and they are going to make you very technically or very techie astrologer. On the same time, be very careful with your communication. Be very careful with any new startups. If you're getting a transfer or a job change or any opportunity within the organization, please accept or say yes only after doing all the research and development and discussing all the pros and cons. It may not be the right decision, right? So, got to be careful. For Virgo, Lagna or Virgo moon sign, this is happening in the seventh house. Now, Mars in the seventh house doesn't do well. I'll be very honest with you. It's a difficult situation. Uh, there will be insecurity at your job. There will be problems coming to your spouse, in terms of his job and his work. Definitely, they are going to take a hit. Also, the health of your spouse and even your own health can create certain problems here because you see, whenever there is a Yam Yoga in the seventh house, it is when the life partner suffers, right? And it has major, if impact on you as well. Also, I see that seventh house is of daily income. Definitely, there will be some turbulence and lack. There will be push and pull in your daily income as well. Here, the drishti of this Mars is also on your 10th house. So there will be some obstacles and major changes and transformations coming at your workplace as well, right? There is a chance of a departmental change or within an organization, or you losing a job and getting into another job. There are strong chances for Virgo rising people. Also, this is going to be aspecting the second house of your family. So there could be certain insecurities and disputes and problematic situations at family as well. So got to be careful with regards to keeping your calm and accepting that whatever has happened with the will of the God, right? That will give you a lot of mental peace. Otherwise, you got to be careful, right? For Libra Lagna or Libra moon sign, this is happening in the sixth house. Mars and Saturn both does very well in the sixth house individually, but whenever they are together, it can create certain conflicts. Your health of your father, teacher, guru is going to be some trouble. Specifically, it is going to give you a lot of mental turmoil, for you yourself as well. On the same time, be very careful with your investments because this is exactly opposite to the 12th house. A lot of money will be flushed out. Unwanted expenses will come up, and you will have no idea from where these expenses are coming. Also, you will see that there will be expenses on parents because Mars here is the second and the seventh lord. Saturn is the fourth and the fifth lord. So mother, father, your daily income, you're going to in fact flush out money. There's a lot of expenses that are going to come, but on the same time, if you have enemies, if you have long lasting cases going on, they will change, right? You will be thinking 24 by 7 about removing certain debts and removing enemies from your life. And on the same time, I must tell you that if you are offered a huge amount of loan, or don't accept it, because whenever Saturn Mars are in the sixth house and you take loan, at times that can backfire. You may not have enough to pay out that particular loan. So if you are getting a loan, take it, but it should be a reasonable one. If you are being offered something, if you feel 1% fishy about it, that this is too much, maybe I'll not be able to pay back, stop yourself there, right? So that is something very, very important. For Scorpio, moon sign or Lagna, your Mars is again a Lagna Lord going into the fifth house. And also, you have Saturn there, which is also your fourth Lord. So the Lagna Lord, fourth Lord going into the fifth house is a great combination. But on the same time, don't forget this conjunction is an opposite planets, the planets of different mindset. Here, your children will have major transformation. I can see a school change or a major, location change for children. Also, something new will come up in terms of your education. There will be a major transformation in your love, romance. Maybe there could be a breakup, and immediately after the breakup, you'll have someone coming in your life and giving you a surprise with a better relationship. On the same time, Mars is going to aspect the eighth house. So be very careful when you're driving a car. On the same time, you have to be careful with the relationship with your in-laws. Here, there could be certain conflicts that can come up with the relationship. Also, in terms of your expenses, in terms of your investments, you have to be careful. Don't go beyond your limit in investing or flushing out the money. You are going to repent later on. Also, there can be changes in your the routine of your prayers and meditation, because whenever Saturn Mars comes in, you definitely make changes. You may add some more prayers. Maybe you were doing it in the morning but you were forgetting the Sandhya Vandan, so maybe you start the Sandhya Vandan and your meditation will increase. There will be transformations, and now you will also want to understand the meaning of those mantras that you were chanting. So that curiosity is going to be there in you. Overall, it is a good transit because Mars in the fourth house was not good, but in the fifth house, it is good. But be very careful with stomach infections, right? And also rectum bleeding. You got to be careful. The pitta is going to increase. So try to cool out, have buttermilk, have, a lot of water, right? Have natural juices and natural fruits that can keep your stomach and heart healthy. For Sagittarius Lagna or Sagittarius moon sign, you're already running Shani's Chaturth Dahya. Along with that, now you have Mars in the fourth house. Mars in the fourth house technically is not a very happy position for Mars, although Mars is also in a watery sign, which is again not making Mars very happy. So you got to be careful both at your home and at your workplace, also with your gains, also with your elder brother and people, who promises to give you a lot of, you know, benefits. They are not going to give you now. I mean, there could be a scam with you, online scam. There could be a possibility that your health of your mother and father will suffer. But on the same time, there is also a possibility of renovation of your home, buying a home. Now you'll get a good deal. I'm sure about it, because Mars and Saturn, whenever comes on the fourth house, houses are made, right? So you will be able to make house, you'll be able to buy property for yourself in next 38 days. It's a good opportunity. But on the same time, with the Mars aspect on the fourth house is technically, not very good. See, Mars in the seventh house, I'm sorry, the fourth aspect of Mars in the seventh house is not good. You got to be careful with your relationships with the spouse, right? That can give you certain amount of problems here, right? Also, last but not the least, you know if you are renovating your home, if you're buying your property, I mean, be in your limits. Do not buy something which is beyond your reach and later on you can regret. That's where, the Saturn Mars combination in the fourth house gives you a lot of trouble. So be very, very careful with regards to that. When it comes to Capricorn, this is happening in the third house. Capricorn moon sign or Capricorn Lagna, it's a good position for Mars and Saturn. But on the same time, do not get into conflicts. Mars gives you a lot of aggression in your communication. You got to be very watchful here. If you aggressively communicate, you are putting yourself in trouble. Otherwise, individually, the position of Mars and Saturn in the third house is very good. It gives you prakram, it gives you that passion to do something new, it gives you ability to bounce back. But on the same time, you have to channelize this energy. If you don't channelize this energy, you're going to put yourself in trouble. There will be a conflict, there could be some litigation that can come. On the same time, this is going to impact ninth and the 10th house as well because of Mars aspect. You see, Mars technically is fourth and the 11th lord in your horoscope. Going into the third house will definitely motivate you to start something new. But on the same time, right, if you are planning to travel long distance or you're trying to make major changes at your work, this will fire back. Hold yourself, right? Do not get into any long distance travels. Do not make any major changes at your work. This time can be a time where there'll be a lot of pressure in your mind coming from the mother nature to change a job or to change, something which is already running at your workplace. Don't do that for next 38 days. It's not going to be good. However, your energy levels are going to be much higher than the previous month. For Aquarius moon sign or Aquarius Lagna, if you're Aquarius moon sign, you're going through Saraswati last phase, right? This is happening in the second house. Be very careful with what you eat. Be very careful with your taste buds. Mars and Saturn in the second house give you, motivation towards eating tamas or drinking tamas, right? Which is, alcoholic drinks, smoking, and, food, which is very, very tamasic. It is going to give you problems in your liver. There is an aspect on the fifth house which is going to cause problems in stomach, like stomach ulcers or rectum bleeding, because it has an aspect on the eighth house also. Got to be very careful with drink and driving. Got to be very careful when it comes to adventurous activities. On the same time, if you are trying to travel long distance, I mean, recalculate your plan because of the geopolitical tension and war-like situations all over the world. Traveling may not be a good idea for Aquarius people. However, if it is urgent and if it is a compulsory travel, then you need to plan very carefully. On the same time, I must tell you that you have to be very patient with your children as well, because you will want to transform your children, but they are not going to respond to you. That is where the tension is going to build. So I want you to hold your nerve for next 38 days. When it comes to Pisces, this is happening in the Lagna. Saturn already is in the Lagna, right? If you're a Pisces moon, you're on the top of your Shani Sadasati, and then you bring a very conflicting Mars in the Lagna as well. Well, Mars is your Bhagya Swami coming into Lagna. Basically, individually, Mars is good. But when you have Saturn there, that's where, that conflict starts. Got to be very careful in terms of your health. You need to control your temperament. In terms of temperament, you can speak certain words to your mother, to your family, which you'll regret, which you will think that I'm not like that. I'm not supposed to. I never said these words. I don't know how I became so cheap that I started abusing my own family. There will be conflict within the family as well. There'll be conflict with the spouse as well, with the in laws as well. So, four things: your health, your relationship with family, your relationship with your spouse, and your extended family. You got to be careful. If there is a conflict, if there is some difference of opinion, just control your mind. Just be, you know, be very, very subtle. Let it go this time. Otherwise, this can spoil, your reputation with them. So these are my observations. And what about the remedies? You see, this transit is happening on Hanuman Jayanti, which is technically the birthday of Hanumanji. And it is happening on the day of Purnima as well. So technically there are two remedies, which is the signal of the god. First is to do lot of bhakti of Hanumanji, right? There is something that says in Hanumanji about Yamraj as well, about Yam Yoga also when you read Hanuman Chalisa, right? So technically, you need to start your evenings with at least 7 times of Hanuman Chalisa every day evening. Take a sankalp for next 38 days, right? With over and above. You can, with your regular puja and whatever prayers that you do. Last but not the least, Bhakti of Hanumanji is nothing without the Bhakti of Shri Ram. So you need to chant Ram Nam as much you can. You should start, your day with Ram Raksha Kavach in the morning, in the evening as well. On the same time, right, when you have this Yam Yoga, donation at cremation ground is also very, very good. So if you have nearby cremation grounds, just go and give some money. There may be 1,000 2,000 rupees at a cremation ground for those people who cannot afford, cremation, right? You're going to send the money there. So doing this Hanuman Chalisa, Ram Raksha Stotra, and also lot of breathe in breathe out activities, because this is happening in Pisces. You also have to be very careful while drinking water from any public place. Use, Bisleri or any other bottled water, not specifically one brand, right? Got to be careful with the drinking water, because there are viruses that can come up. You see, during the COVID times also, the COVID reached to the highest level when Mars was transiting over the Saturn. So that gives you, that kind of a situation where the health deteriorates completely because of virus issues. Even the time is going to be of a very furious dengue or a dengue fever this time, and that is again because of this Mars-Saturn coming at the time when we are approaching the summers here in in India. So got to be careful, doing lot of taking a lot of precautions in terms of water intake, exercising, breathe in, breathe out activities, lot of Hanuman Chalisa, lot of Ram Nam and Ram Raksha Kavach. These are the remedies that will protect you, from this 38 days of a little difficult transit, not only for you at the personal level, but also at the geopolitical level. Things are going to become very, very aggressive. I mean, whatever you were seeing in with Mars and Rahu, when Mars comes with Saturn, the fights now start taking the shape of decision, that ownership. You see the result of the war, who wins, who loses, ceasefire. This everything is going to come, everything is going to happen in these next 38 days, right? So thank you very much. I'll come up with another video soon. Till then, Hare Krishna, Har Har Mahadev, Shambhu. Thank you.